What's going on, guys? I hope you're all doing well and that you're having yourselves an awesome day. My name is Jason Joseph. This is Play-by-Play with JJ. It's been a while since we talked about this hockey team, man. It's been a little bit of time, but you know what? There is a lot to be said about what the Flyers are going to be doing throughout the offseason. We should just talk about, everything that's been going on in regards to the Flyers. Before we dive into everything, I want to make sure to remind you guys that if you enjoy my Flyers content, if you enjoy my Sixers content, my Phillies content, or Patriots content, make sure that you make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell icon as well, so that way you know when I upload. And also make sure that if you'd like to come on and talk to me a little bit about the Flyers and give your thoughts about everything that's been going on so far this offseason for them and what they have to do in the draft and during free agency, please come on here. I'd love to hear your thoughts and what you guys have to say. All right, with that being said, let's talk about the Flyers. I was really happy with the whole Keith Jones hiring. I am. I'm very happy with everything that I heard on the press conference day, and I think that the Flyers actually got it right. All right, Valerie Camillo, Dan Hilferty, Danny Briere, John Tortorella, and Keith Jones. I think it's a really good core. And the one thing I'm interested is, from a marketing strategy, it makes a lot of sense to have Keith Jones come in and, have him become this new face or this new quote-unquote moderator, as Dan Hilferty liked to say. If they're making decisions or if people are butting heads, like when it comes to decisions that are being made in the front office, Keith is going to be the guy that kind of just gels everybody together and just says, hey guys, okay, let's try to make peace, but let's also, try to look into this direction. I think that he is a really good job at communicating. He does a really good job at that, and he also just can make his presence very well known. That's the one thing that I've liked about Keith, on the TV side of things, is that he has never been afraid to ask the tough questions. He's never been afraid to do those tough things. And I think that there's something to be said about somebody that just has a really good work ethic in that sense and wants what's best for the city and is going to be somebody that, is in the middle between the business side of things and just, with the decisions, like when it comes to ownership and that type of stuff. So I think he was definitely the right person for the job. The one thing, the one word that I continued to hear throughout that whole entire press conference was collaboration. And I like that because he's not coming in there just to take over anybody's job. His job is to make sure that everybody is doing their job and he's helping out. He's basically like a right-hand man to Danny Briere, but also will help out Tortorella. And will help out in other ways, okay, with making phone calls and that type of thing. And I think that there is some value to that. I really do. I mean, this organization really has been in such shambles over the last, how many seasons. And now I think that Comcast Spectacor with Dan Hilferty and that group, I think that they're starting to understand that they have to take more of a back seat and they have to try to get people who actually embrace hockey, embrace the sport of hockey, and let them do the work. And that is something that actually makes me really excited because, we always talk about in Philadelphia, we have the Eagles, right? We have the Sixers, we have the Phillies, but the Flyers have really just become, so irrelevant. And now, with Keith Jones there, with Danny Briere being promoted to GM, I think that this is a really good start in the right direction. I also I'm curious to see how Tortorella is going to gel in with everybody else too, because I know that Tortorella really does love Danny Briere for sure, and he's said it so many times. He's been very verbal about that to the media and has talked about it after games, during press conferences and that type of stuff. And you could even see at the very end of the regular season that when Tortorella wasn't even behind the ice, he would actually go up to the booth and sit right where Danny Briere was in that plexiglass, and he would just watch the games from up there and talk to him. And I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to do, because you're not like with your guys, but that's how you know that he has been like buddy with Danny Briere, because you see those types of things. And I like it. The main thing now is that they have to execute. You have, 9 picks in this draft? Okay, you have the 7th overall pick. You have 2 third-rounders, right? 2 fourth-rounders, 1 fifth, 2 sixth, 1 seventh, according to my knowledge. And this is a year where you really have to try to rebuild this thing the correct way. And I think that Keith Jones understands that. I mean, I know he does. He definitely gets that he has to do his job, and he has to try to find ways to get people to become more involved with the scouting department and other areas from a business side and just from a collaboration side of things too. It's not going to be done alone, and I think that he made that very clear. It's togetherness and collaboration. Those were the 2 words that I heard repeatedly time and time again, and it wasn't even just from Keith. It was from, Danny Briere. It was from even Valerie Camillo. She used that word a little bit at a time, too. And I like that. I think that it's really important that everybody's on the same page and that they don't screw this thing up, because if they do, that's going to really suck. Okay? Now, are they handicapped in some ways? Yes, they are. But even Keith said that this is going to take a little bit of time, and we have to be patient with this whole rebuilding process. But he has made it very clear that he is going to do everything that he possibly can to communicate what's going on most of the time behind closed doors, so that the media and the fans can have some sort of insight. The one thing that I really like about this new ownership, with Valerie and with Dan Hilferty and just everybody that's a part of this front office, they're very open-minded. And Dan Hilferty even said that when it comes to making business decisions, he realizes that this is for the fans. This is for the people that, have been long-time ticket sales holders and people that have really been coming to the arena so much. He is basically just saying it's about them. It's about the fans. It's about the fan base and those people that really invest their time and their money to buying season tickets. And he made it perfectly clear that he's not going to interfere with decisions that are being made in the front office when it comes to trades, when it comes to drafting or waivers or anything like that. And that's key. I hope that Josh Harrison, I hope that some of these other owners in Philadelphia, even though you don't really see it now too much with John Middleton or with Jeffrey Lurie, but I hope that Josh Harris takes notes of that. I really do, because that is a very big deal. The one thing that Danny Briere said, that when he talked about looking at this new draft class and looking at how they're going to attack free agency, he said that when they're scouting people in the draft process, they're looking for people that have a lot of speed, quote unquote, skill, and hockey sense. And player development is going to be very critical. And he even called out the whole player development process and how much it has been awful over the last 10 years or so. And he said that is going to have to change. And that is on us, he said. We have to do a better job. This guy is holding everybody accountable, and I like that, but now he has to just execute. There has to be new people in the scouting department, and I think that with what they're trying to do, they're trying to go younger and try to get new philosophies involved with the game, because the game is changing. The game is constantly changing, and you need to bring in new minds of people that understand the analytics part of the game and people that also can understand of where the game is heading. And I do trust Danny Briere at the head of the helm, because I know that he will be making the decisions when it comes to trades and who gets drafted and that type of stuff. Keith Jones is going to be there as a right-hand man, if Danny needs something. But it's a collaborative effort. a collaborative effort. From a marketing side of things, Keith Jones is definitely a good choice for the Flyers. I'm just hoping that he's not necessarily going to be just used as a face. I do know that he is somebody that is going to work tirelessly, and he is also going to make sure that he does everything in his power to try to make the team in a better spot. But you can say all of that, and the one thing that I am going to say is that, like there comes a time where things are not just working out and people are butting heads in the office, and you can't prepare for that, but it's how do you adapt? And Keith, throughout his whole life, has adapted to so many things. And I trust him, but I'm hoping that it doesn't get out of proportion and everything stays stable. And I do think it will, but I have to kind of, put that into the question, like put that on the back burner on the stove of my head, because it's going to be there too. But from a marketing side, a lot of people really like Keith Jones. He's done an awesome job with TV. He was a great player, right? He's all about the Flyers. He even said like time and time again, repeatedly, that this wasn't even in the books. Like once this came up, he had to do it, and he wanted to keep everything behind closed doors because he didn't want people to think that he was stepping on other people. There are so many people in the business, not even just with hockey, but in sports in general, of people that just step all over people. And Keith would never do something like that. He's totally unselfish in that sort of perspective, and he's all about the team. Teamwork is something that he really tries to implement with whatever he's doing, whether it's on TV, whether it's with doing stuff for the front office, even like when he was a player. He learned from a very young age, and he even said this on a podcast, it was like 2 weeks ago, that teamwork is what makes sports so cool, and that is like one of the best teachers in life, he said. Can't hurt. It really can't hurt. And he's a very good communicator, and I think that he'll also help put butts in the seats just from a marketing strategy standpoint, because a lot of people know him and because he also understands what he's doing. And if they can steer the ship in the right direction and find the right guys to build the team around, this thing could be very successful. I'm open. I'm open to the whole rebuilding process, and I think that they're finally trying to make the right changes. Now it's just about going out there and executing. I don't know who they're going to try to attack during free agency. I don't know who they're going to go after drafting-wise. I mean, the one person that I really like, and I did a little bit of research on him, was Will Smith. I think that he is definitely a center that can play really good defense, and he's very skillful, right? He's somebody that does have a lot of speed, and I think would make a really big impact on this team. And with John Tortorella as his head coach, I think that could also help his game in so many different ways. I'm just saying that if he gets called up, or if he gets, like after he gets drafted, I think that would be a really good mesh together. But that's one person that I am keeping my eye out on. But they can't screw this up. They really can't. They have to do this the right way. Zach Benson's probably going to go a little bit early in the draft. A lot of people have been talking about him and how much skill he truly has. Dylan McKinnon, same thing. So I think Will Smith would be a really good option. Last thing I want to leave you guys on with this, and then we'll get to your text messages and that type of stuff, is at the very end of that press conference that they had with Keith Jones, with Danny Briere, and everybody else that was involved. Keith wanted to make it perfectly clear that this is Mr. Snyder's team. Okay? He said, quote, "This is the Philadelphia Flyers, and we will not lose sight of all that. And if there's anything I want to leave you guys with today, it's that." So his heart is in the right place. He said that if Angelo didn't retire, he would still be doing radio because he kept a promise to Angelo Cataldi that he would still go on to the morning show with Al Morgani and come on some of the time because he made that promise. He doesn't break people's promises. He's a man of his word. And I really admire that about him. That shows me that he has a lot of character, and I know that he also knows a lot about the analytical side of hockey, and he has really good relationships with the league because even now he still is doing games like for TNT, for the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's been really working hard between doing that, between going on a lot of podcasts and talking about his new position, and still trying to get involved with different types of conversations with the Flyers themselves. This man is really busy, and he just has a lot of respect. And that's a very good thing. But tying it all back together with this is Mr. Snyder's team, that's his that's his purpose. And he will do everything in his power to try to make the team a lot better and build this thing so that the future can succeed. I feel very positive about that. If you guys want to come on here, give me your thoughts about the Flyers. Make sure that you join the Discord server. The link is down below. You guys can totally feel free to join in. This conversation is not going to go anywhere. Let's see if we have anybody texting in the chat. I want to get to some text messages too. Let's see. There we go. I'm trying to think of something else. So I talked a little bit about the marketing strategy of bringing in Keith as, some sort of like a moderator, but also as a communicator and somebody that can really try to get all parties together. From a business side of things, even Valerie talked about during a podcast how she wants to try to incorporate like getting more outside events, like, doing stuff like for the Eagles game or like, trying to do more stuff with the community. And Keith has already had those types of conversations with her. And I think that that's a very positive thing to do too, because if the goal is to try to get the community more involved, and if the goal is to try to do more in that sort of perspective, right? Like that's all positive to me too, because that means that they care about the fans and they really want to try to do whatever they can to draw more butts in the seats. And the only way that they're going to do that is if they do this thing correctly and continue to keep a good, constant set of communication with everybody that's involved to try to get this ship in the right direction. It's all great. But it ultimately is going to come down to Danny Briere and John Tortorella and what decisions that they're going to make, and hopefully they just don't butt heads. I don't see that happening, but again, it's a possibility, and I can't rule that out of the equation. The blue line, it's something that they're going to have to address in the offseason. What are they going to do with Carter? If there is a really good package out there, you're probably going to have to trade him. Those things are going to be addressed during free agency, but I'm a little bit baffled by some of these people that still say that, the Flyers haven't done enough already. Like, literally, free agency hasn't even started yet, and the draft hasn't started. So, what are you criticizing? What are you doing? I think so far, A+. A+ for the Flyers this offseason so far. I forgot that Justin Braun did retire. That kind of went under the radar. But yeah. Lots of things have to be addressed, but step one, reshape that front office. And it worked, I think. I'm very positive about where this thing's going to go. All right, that's going to wrap things up here. My name is Jason Joseph. I want to thank you all so much for coming on here, for tuning in. Again, if you guys want to come back on in the future or something and talk about the Flyers a little bit, give your thoughts and your takes about where this franchise is heading and, what they're going to do during the offseason, they're definitely not going to go anywhere. We'll talk more about the draft like once it comes up. We'll talk a little bit about free agency too, what the Flyers are going to have to do in order to address that and that type of stuff, because it's a long off season. But hopefully they do this thing right. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you all later tonight for the Phillies game. Make sure that you guys come on for that. We'll be doing another Phillies game as they take on the Washington Nationals, and I will catch you all on the next one.